For was not Israel a derision to you? Was he found among thieves? For whoever you speak of him, whenever you speak of him, you shake your head in scorn. Anti-Semitism. You who dwell in Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock. This is a reference. This area of Moab is in the area now that's in the area of Jordan. And when he talks about here, about leave the cities and dwell in the rock, you know what he's talking about? He's talking about the place the 144,000 will go, the city of Petra. And be like the dove which makes her nest in the side of the cave's mouth. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceedingly proud of his loftiness and arrogance and pride, and of the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, says the Lord, but it is not right. His lies have made nothing right. Therefore I will wait for Moab, and I will cry out for all Moab. I will mourn for the men of Kithares. O vine of Sibmah, I will keep for you with the weeping of Jazer. Your plants have gone over the sea. They reach to the sea of Jazer. The plundered have fallen on your summer fruit and your vintage. Joy and gladness are taken from the plentiful field. And from the land of Moab, I have caused wine to fail from the wine presses. No one will tread with joyous shouting. No joyous shouting. In other words, your winemaking career is over because you're going to lose all of it. Everything. From the cry of Heshbon and Elilah and to Jahaz, they have uttered their voice from Zor to Horion, like a 3-year-old heifer, for the waters of Niram also shall be desolate. Moreover, says the Lord, I will cause to cease in Moab the one who offers sacrifices in the high places and burns incense to their God. He's going to destroy their priests. Therefore my heart shall walk like flutes for Moab, shall wait like flutes for Moab, and like flutes my heart shall wait. For the men of Kirheres, therefore the riches they have acquired have perished. For every head shall be bald, and every beard clipped. On all their hands shall be cuts, and on their loins sackcloth. He's saying that they are going to go into mourning after the dictates of their priests and the following of their false gods. A general lamentation on all the housetops of Moab and in the streets, for I have broken Moab like a vessel in which is no pleasure, says the Lord. And they shall wail how she is broken down, how Moab has turned her back with Shamniel. So Moab shall be a derision and a dismay to all those about her. For thus says the Lord, behold, one shall fly like an eagle and spread his wings over Moab. Kereth is taken, and the strongholds are surprised. The mighty men's hearts in Moab on that day shall be like the heart of a woman in birth pangs. And Moab shall be destroyed as the people, because he exalted himself against the Lord. Fear and the pit and the snare shall be upon you, O inhabitants of Moab, says the Lord. He who flees from the fear shall fall into the pit, and he who gets out of the pit shall be caught in the snare. For upon Moab, upon it, I will bring the year of their punishment, says the Lord. Those who fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon because of exhaustion. but the fire shall come out of Heshbon, a flame from the midst of Sion, and shall devour the brow of Moab, the crown of the heads of the sons of tumult. Woe to you, O Moab! The people of Chemesh perish, for your sons have been taken captive, and your daughters captive. Yet I will bring back the captives of Moab in the latter days, says the Lord. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. You know what, folks? Again, Genesis 12:3. I'll bless those who bless you. I'll curse those who curse you. God said it, and it happened. Last chapter, 49. God now speaks against two nations. The first is the Ammonites. Against the Ammonites, says the Lord, has Israel no sons? Has he no heir? Why then does Milcom inherit Gad, and his people dwell in the cities? In other words, you guys are occupying the land that I gave to my people. Is it because there are no Jews to be in that land? No. There's a story. If you recall, when Joshua led the people of Israel after 40 years in the wilderness into the land that God would give them, two of the tribes spoke to Joshua before they crossed the river. And they said essentially, hey, Josh, we're cattle people. And this is perfect cattle ground. We don't want to cross the river. We want this land right here. But I'll tell you, at first, Joshua was mad because they didn't want to go. And they said, no, wait a minute, wait. We're not saying we won't cross the river and help you fight, but we want this land. We want this land as our land. Joshua said, well, all right. Says, you want that land? I guess you can have it. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be across the river with the rest of us for safety. Well, if you remember, later in Israel's history, those were the first two tribes to be conquered and taken out because they didn't stand with the remainder of the tribes, even though they fought with them, to take part of the land that God had promised them. Now, knowing that information, listen to this again. Against the Ammonites, thus says the Lord, has the Israel no sons? Has he no heir? And why then does Milcom inherit Gad? Gad was across the river. Why is it that the Ammonites, who later took that land, have the land? And his people dwell in its cities. It should have been for the tribes that wouldn't cross the river. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, that I will cause to be heard an alarm of war and rabble of the Ammonites. Incidentally, those two tribes, they settled for a good idea instead of a God idea. And it shall be desolate, a desolate mound, and her villages shall be burned with fire, and Israel shall take possession of his inheritance, says the Lord. Wail, O Heshbon, for Ai is plundered. Cry, you daughters of Rabbah. Gird yourselves with sackcloth. Lament, and run to and fro by the walls. For Milcom shall go into captivity, with his pieces and with his princes together, with his priests and princes together. Why do you boast in the valleys, your flowing valleys? O backsliding daughter, who trusted in her treasures, saying, who will come against me? Behold, I will bring fear upon you, says the Lord God of hosts. For all those who are around you, you shall be driven out, everyone headlong and no one will gather those who wander off. But afterward I will bring back the captives of the people of Ammon, says the Lord. Now he speaks to the children of Edom. Against Edom, thus says the Lord of hosts. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom vanished? This seems to be a reference to the book of Job. I don't know if you know it or not, but the very first book of the Bible that was written was Job. And when Job was in complete and utter confusion, all of his stuff had been ripped off, his family killed and destroyed, his body deteriorating with sores so bad that he scraped the pus out of the open sores as he sat in ashes. There were men that came that thought they were coming to give him good godly counsel, Job's comforters. And one of those comforters came from a land to give what he believed was godly counsel. And the land that he came from Teman. And this reference is a reference to those who purport to have the wisdom of God and to share it with others. They're talking about that one Job's comforter. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their vision vanished? Flee, turn back and dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity on Esau upon him, the time that I will punish him. If grape gatherers come to you, would they not have some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, would they not destroy until they have enough? And incidentally, interestingly enough, Dedan, Saudi Arabia. But I have made Esau bare. Why? Because the Edomites are the descendants of Esau. But I have made Esau bare. I have discovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His descendants are plundered, his brethren and his neighbors, and he are no more. Leave your fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let your widows trust in me. For thus says the Lord, behold, those whose judgment was not to drink the cup have assuredly drunk. And are you the one who will altogether go unpunished? You shall not go unpunished, but you shall surely drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, says the Lord, that Bozrah shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a message from the Lord, and an ambassador has been sent to the nations. Gather together and come against her, and rise up to battle. For indeed I will make you small among the nations, despised of men. Your fierceness has deceived you, the pride of your heart, and you who dwell in the clefts of the rock, who hold to the height of the hill. Though you make your nest as high as an eagle, I will bring you down there, says the Lord. Edom also shall be an astonishment. Everyone who goes by it will be astonished and will hiss at all its plagues. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighbors, says the Lord, no man shall remain there, nor shall a son of man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up and take a lion from the floodplain of the Jordan against the dwelling place of the strong, but I will surely make him run away from her. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? Who will arraign me? Who is that shepherd who will withstand me? Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord, that he has taken against Edom, and his purposes that he has proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their dwelling places desolate with them. The earth shakes at the noise of their fall. All the cry, its noise is heard at the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly like an eagle and spread his wings over Bozrah. The heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman with birth pangs. And on Damascus, against Damascus, Hamath and Arpad are shamed, and they had heard bad news. They are faint-hearted. There is a trouble on the sea, and it cannot be quieted. Damascus has grown feeble. She turns to flee, and fear has seized her. The anguish and the sorrows have taken her like a woman in labor. Why is the cities of praise not deserted, the city of my joy? Therefore the young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, says the Lord of hosts. And I will kindle a fire in the walls of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. Against Kedar and against the kingdom of Hazor, which Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon shall strike. Thus says the Lord, arise and go up to Kedar and devastate the men of the east. The tents and their flocks they shall take away. They shall take themselves their curtains, all their vessels and their camels, and they shall cry out to them. Fear is on every side. Flee and get away. Dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Hazor, says the Lord. For Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has taken counsel against you and has conceived a plan against you. Arise, go up to the wealthy nation that dwells securely, says the Lord, which has neither gates